Welcome to Living Black. I'm Carla Grant. This week, the story of Quaden Bayles, a resilient 4-year-old who was born with achondroplasia, a common form of dwarfism. Since birth, Quaden has struggled with health complications, leaving him no stranger to hospitals. Our journalist Hannah Hollis met Quaden and his family and followed them on an emotional journey as they prepare for high-risk brain and spinal surgery.
Four-year-old Quaden Bayles is just 65 centimetres tall, the size of a 6-month-old baby. He is a brave Murray boy who was born with achondroplasia, which means without cartilage formation. It's one of 200 types of dwarfism. Since birth, he's proved good things can come in small packages. When we first meet Quaden, he's waiting in his hospital room, playing on his iPad and spending time with his mum and big sisters. We're waiting to go into emergency surgery that, if successful, will keep him out of a wheelchair. But Quaden's story starts in a different hospital room. Just 72 hours after he was born, Yarika's euphoria at the birth of her new son would be replaced by heartbreak.
To hear the doctor tell you that, you know, there's something wrong with the child, there was nothing that could ever have prepared me for that, because, you know, I gave birth, everything was sweet. We were packing up on the way out of the hospital. Me, his dad and the twins were in the room. He's 3 days old, we're all good to go. And then a lady came in, didn't introduce herself. So she had 2 pieces of paper and just said, something along the lines of, you know, your son's got achondroplasia, here's some information, you can stay extra if you like. And I was like, no, we're cool, we're gone. And I just blocked it out as soon as I was numb, didn't acknowledge it, didn't accept it, straight into denial, shock, all these, you know, different emotions at once.
The news rocked the family.
I convinced myself that they had it wrong, that the diagnosis was wrong. And then they tested, so they done blood tests, x-rays, photographs.
Yarika made the doctors test Quaden again. She started to build her own evidence bank to try and discount the diagnosis of dwarfism.
I was taking photos of him every single day in the bath, showing my godmum, my dad. I'm like, the doctors have got it wrong, eh? Like, look, he looks normal. He's like the rest of our kids. He's a Bayles. We've got that big buff head. Like, what are they going on about?
It would be almost a year before Yarika would force herself to accept that Quaden was developing differently to other children his age.
So my natural coping mechanisms were just to block it out, you know, just ignore it, just pretend it never happened, which is what I did. And that almost killed me because I couldn't keep living that lie. People were asking, people were noticing that he's different, and I just couldn't lie anymore. Mayonnaise.
It took years for Yarika to reconcile with Quaden's diagnosis, but as she did, she realised it was imperative to capture his journey.
Dog, looking at bear.
He's very self-conscious. He's aware that he's different. He's, you know, obviously got the bigger head and disproportionate body, you know, the short limbs and chubby little hands and feet. He always wants to be covered up. He never, you know, like, so he'll always like to wear. It's almost like he needs to be in disguise to feel safe in public.
But it's only been in the last few months that she's decided to share his journey with others, to show people what life is really like for children with dwarfism. Her own journey, she's only just starting to talk about.
I was suicidal. I went into postnatal depression for the first 2 years. I could not accept it. I blamed his father. I was like, you know, I felt so robbed. Like, I was the healthiest I've ever been, clean and sober, fit and healthy. You know, me and his dad were going really good. And, you know, I wanted to kill the doctor. For the doctor to come in and tell me that there's something wrong with my child, I was like, how dare you?
Since he was 3 days old, Quaden has struggled with health complications. Suffering from severe obstructive sleep apnea and otitis media, he's already had 2 operations to improve the quality of his life. Grommets were installed and then replaced to treat his persistent middle ear infections, and his adenoids and tonsils were removed to ease his severe sleep disorder that stops him breathing up to 70 times a night, causing his blood oxygen levels to drop dangerously low. Achondroplasia requires consistent monitoring so doctors can track Quaden's progress.
Go, Quady!
With each visit, Yarika prays for good news, that her son's condition is stable. But recently, Quaden's slowly been losing the use of his arms and legs because of the building pressure on his spinal cord. And late last year, Yarika's fears were confirmed. Quaden's case was getting worse.
So he was in December on his 4th birthday. We got the news that the MRI showed intracranial pressure, swelling, which is all quite common. His head is growing a lot faster, so it's a lot heavier. It puts his limbs way out of whack, so his poor little legs just can't carry the weight of the head, which has squashed the spinal cord, made it more crooked.
It was just a few days ago, Quaden came in for a routine checkup. But this time, the doctors told Yarika he couldn't leave.
Hey, look, Mummy and Daddy and Quady.
He can have no hair.
They pretty much said he needs the decompression now, otherwise he's going to lose, his limbs. Once he's weakened, there's no bouncing back. He'll stay weak forever.
Spider-Man!
Spider-Man!
For the families that have to spend time in and out of hospitals, it's the small things that can turn a clinical ward into a makeshift home.
Come on!
One of Quaden's favourite places to unwind is on level 6. He spends hours playing video games and listening to music with his sisters. Outside the hospital, he's just like any other 4-year-old. He loves to play in the park, and he's pretty good on the monkey bars.
Whoa!
Even if it's only for a moment, it's a reprieve from his reality.
Catching up to Uncle Chris.
On the morning of the operation, Quaden's a little grumpy because the doctors have told him he's not allowed to eat. He's young, but he knows he's going into surgery.
How do you tell a 4-year-old, the doctors are going to pretty much cut your head open? Like, how do you put that nicely? Like I've just said, you're not going to get no more headaches, no more boo-boo head, because you'll wake up with headaches and some other symptoms that are related to, the swelling, and which is why he needs the decompression. So I haven't been brutally honest and, said this is what's going to happen. So he doesn't really know that this is the biggest surgery of his life so far.
He reads a book about brain surgeries to help explain what's about to happen. The cartoons mitigate the fear of the procedure and cut through the medical jargon. Inquisitively, he flicks through the pages.
Look like an egg.
Closer to the time of his operation, messages of support come through from celebrities and his favourite sporting heroes.
Hey Quady, it's Guy Sebastian here. Just wanted to say good luck for your surgery today. I hope it all goes well. Peace out.
Hey Quady, pregnancy champ. Mate, I just want to wish you all the best for your recovery.
Downstairs in the operating theatre, it's serious. The anaesthetist is preparing his injection and scrub nurses assemble the tools. In a few moments, the room will be full with a team of specialist surgeons.
We're going to do a decompression of the craniocervical junction of Quaden. That's the area between the base of the skull and the top of the neck, because he's got a stricture, a narrowing there, which is compressing the part of the nervous system where the brain stem joins the spinal cord.
And what would happen if he doesn't have this surgery?
Well, he's already developing neurological consequences from the pressure of the spinal cord, and that can be seen in the function of his arms and the legs. He's developed spastic changes in his arms and his legs, and the longer the compression continues, the more will be the danger and the greater will be the incapacity that he'll experience in the long term.
If the surgery fails, Quaden will lose the use of his arms and legs. Sliding on her white coat and hairnet, it's a moment of deja vu for Yarika. And when Quaden catches a glimpse of his mum, he knows it means the surgery is close. Like at each of his previous procedures, they pray.
I'm in your hands now for this critical time in his life, Lord.
Despite his best efforts, the man of the hour seems more interested in playing than praying. The family know this time the stakes are higher.
The risks that are associated with this go beyond just the neurosurgical operations. Some of the really severe ones are, first of all, his respirations. He does have difficulty with breathing. He has apnea.
This increases the risk of death and brain damage, but other complications like infection and fluid drainage are also higher during surgeries on children with achondroplasia.
Now we're looking for number 8. That's your number.
8. Oh, that's a lucky
We're
number.
nearly there. I think it's this one.
This is a special room.
Come on through.
Quaden will be in surgery for the next 4 hours. It's now up to the doctors. All the family can do is wait.
You know, the risk is death. They always let you know that's always going to be a possibility whenever they put him under. You know, he might not make it.
Just through these double doors is where Quaden's operation is taking place. Now, doctors say this kind of life-changing surgery can take up to several hours, but for now, his life is in the hands of the surgeon and his team of specialists. It's a long time to wait for an anxious mother.
I need something to keep my mind off, you know, because it is nerve-wracking. That thought is always at the back of your head, like, you know, you're always thinking that, you know, what if, you know, the risk is death. They always let you know that's always going to be a possibility whenever they put him under. You know, he might not make it, or he might not come back to you the way, you know, like it's a very difficult area, like the spinal cord. So one tiny little bit, you know, if they cut into one part, it could keep him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, could be paralysed. So you've got to really take into consideration, and yeah.
To distract herself, Yarika decides to use the time to keep busy.
Alrighty. And we packed lightly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We're getting it better, we're getting it down pat. We've still got stuff in the laundry and stuff in the fridge.
But there's also time for reflection. In just 4 years, her family have overcome hurdles they didn't think existed.
For the first 3 years of Quaden's life, he had his mum and dad, and it was a beautiful thing, and that's all I ever wanted, you know. Like, I'm very aware that he's a young Murray boy, he needs his dad to raise him into a warrior.
Sadly, it wouldn't last.
We both had our own issues coming into the relationship, both overcoming addiction, dealing with addiction, and, you know, just the life growing up in Redfern, drugs, crime, all of that sort of stuff.
With Quaden's dad now in prison, Yarika has had to adjust to life as a single mum.
So probably the last 6 months I've been by myself and really struggling, readjusting, and it's been a real struggle financially. I've been left with the house, the vehicles, and then looking after my dad. So managing 2 households, 3 kids, 2 vehicles, and now I'm on a disability pension, and it's like, it's just not I can't survive.
Unable to work and care for Quaden at the same time, Yarika also struggles with her own demons.
There's been a couple of times, I mean, I've been clean and sober in the last 8 years, but I have come that close to just wanting to just get drunk, just take all my pain away and escape reality, which is the reason why I did drugs and alcohol in the first place. There have been some really close calls, and I don't know how I'm doing it. People say, how do you do it? Like, I just look at it like, I don't have a choice, I have to do it. I don't want my kids to go through what I went through, and I don't want them to see the things that I saw. So I have to do it. I'm going to do it. It's not an option.
Yarika's twin daughters are her pillars of strength.
I couldn't have asked for better daughters. You know, they've got big hearts and they love to help and care for everyone, so I'm glad that they've got some good traits of mine. But yeah, I'm very proud of my daughters as well.
Rapidly growing into young women, wise beyond their 15 years, Lily and Lala were just 11 when their brother was born and have seen the impact caring for Quaden has had on their mother.
Under a lot of pressure.
A lot.
Stressful.
Very stressful, considering she's got to work. I mean, like, she's had to quit her job, her business, doing catering. She can't make money. You know, she has to get on disability pension with Centrelink, taking us to school, paying for that.
Single mother looking after 3 kids, you know. So.
You guys miss a lot of school because you're helping out your mum, or?
Last year we missed a lot of school.
Last year it wasn't just Quaden, we had deaths in the family, and Pop was getting really sick. He's got cancer. So we usually multitask with him as well. We take care of Pop on the weekends, sometimes weekdays.
While Quaden is small in stature, he teaches his big sisters big lessons.
It's definitely opened our eyes, and, you know, not to judge people, because look in our own backyard, Quaden's not, you know, he's not going to grow up and be tall. So yeah, we've definitely just not into judging people that much as we used to.
The twins are philosophical about the sacrifices they've had to make.
Together. I think I like that.
There's more important things in life instead of spending money.
We can't go to parties. We can't let our grandfather or our little brother or our mum down. So
we have expectations and like roles to fulfill and stuff. So.
And I mean, it's not that hard.
Choosing to spend their free time with their little brother in hospitals and clinics, or if they can, anywhere else. Lily and Lala wouldn't have it any other way.
Go. Together. Go like that. Together. Any other person might think it's hard, but I've grown to get used to it. So it's fun, actually.
Back in Quaden's hospital room, time is moving slowly. Yarika's surrounded by memories of her son.
Hey, how are you? Nothing yet. It's only been 1 hour, so just waiting anxiously.
How do you usually pass the time?
Pacing up and down, walking around, just trying to think of something different or do things. But you're just waiting by the phone, you're just waiting for the call, so you just got the phone in your hand. Hopefully not so much longer. Praying for miracles.
Yarika knows at times like this, no news is good news. Then, halfway into the operation, Yarika gets a call.
Hello, Yarika speaking. Yeah, it's Quaden's mum. Is everything okay?
In that moment, we hold our breath for what comes next.
In the lower part of the spinal cord, it looks quite dark, but as we come up to this area in question, you can see that the spinal cord is a little bit lighter in colour, and that means that there's swelling in there, and the swelling represents damage to the spinal cord caused by pressure at this narrow point.
Hours into a 4-hour operation.
Yeah, it's Quaden's mum. Is everything okay?
Yarika gets some news.
It's all finished.
It's ready, it's all good. 2.5 hours. Oh my God. It's so fun. Oh, we can go get him now.
We make our way to another waiting room.
What level? I forgot what level. I should know. I've been to every single one.
Every one of these levels?
Yep, so to number 4.
In the waiting room, Yarika is overjoyed.
Hi. I just want to give you a hug.
It's all done, it's all gone well.
In record time, I was expecting like 4 hours, 5 hours.
Well, it can take that long, but
You're so good.
no, it just went well. Everything just fitted together well, and we didn't have any problems. He didn't lose very much blood.
Excellent.
And so we're just bundling him up and take him back to the intensive care ward now.
Yarika has one burning question.
I can hold him or no? Just heal
Well,
him?
once you get, we'll take you over to intensive care and you can sit down there with him and give him a bit of attention.
Yeah.
The news is a relief for Yarika, but before she can hold her son, Quaden's neurosurgeon explains what happened during surgery.
Well, you can see that in the lower part of the spinal cord, it looks quite dark, but as we come up to this area in question, you can see that the spinal cord is a little bit lighter in colour, and that means that there's swelling in there, and the swelling represents damage to the spinal cord caused by pressure at this narrow point. So what we did at the surgery was to open up here at the back of his neck there and drill away this piece of bone. So now that hole is much larger. Do you want to go and see him in intensive care?
Yes, please.
All right.
It's okay, Mummy, see that. It's okay, we're going to go back up to our room now. Because you've been a big, strong boy.
The back-of-house corridors lead the way from the paediatrics intensive care unit upstairs to the neurology ward. Mum never out of sight from her young warrior.
Yeah, I know, but we're just going to move you over.
12 hours after the surgery, it's time to check on Quaden's progress.
That's the big part out of the way.
Yes, glad that's over and done with.
Alright, while he's asleep, can I just check something?
Yarika is worried there's something wrong with Quaden's leg.
His leg's really sore. His right leg, since surgery, tended to touch. He lost, like they took that off and he bled out a bit here.
I mean, there's still some signs that his spinal cord had a bit of pressure on it.
Yeah.
That'll take a little while before that all settles down and goes back to normal. So I expect he'll probably have some different examination findings until the bruising in the cord starts to settle down.
Look at things turning out.
You want the wheelchair? Good boy. You want to walk? You want to walk?
Another 24 hours later, Quaden's recovery is still slow and painful. Yarika's been told it's important to get him moving. It's uncomfortable, and Quaden is distressed.
You're sitting up by yourself.
Good boy. 2 days after surgery. No, you're a very strong boy. I'm so proud of you.
You can even sit.
Boy.
The news is good. It's official, the operation has been a success. For now, Quaden is able to live without a wheelchair. But this won't be his last operation or his last challenge. Yarika is confident Quaden will be able to take whatever life throws at him in his stride.
I want him to defy the odds and prove the doctors wrong. That's my goal, you know, like I want him to be 50, 60, 70 and 80 years old and healthy and fit and, you know, still kicking the footy around with his grandkids and my great grannies, and that's honestly where I see, that's what I see in the future.